Hey, Brett Moravitz here. Today I'm going to give you a tour of this 5x8 box blind. I'll give you measurements along the way and kind of explain how I got it set up like this. So this is set up on four 4x4 posts. It's about 7 feet from the ground to the bottom of the floor. These posts are buried in about 3 feet. That's about as deep as I can get with a post hole digger. I did drop some Sacrete in the bottom of each hole and tamped the posts on that. That kind of creates a base and it does set up as concrete eventually. You can see we've got these cable wires going down on all 4 sides, and a T-post is pounded in the ground, and their wires are connected to the base of those T-posts up to the base of the platform on all 4 sides. The green T-post is just a marker. The other post is driven down. You know, there's 3 or 4 feet of that in the ground, and the cable is wrapped around right at the base. We've got a turnbuckle on there too to tighten up the cable as we need. This stand blew over in a major windstorm also, along with all the other ones pretty much. So that's why the back looks a little different. It ended up blowing over this way, and it broke the back window out and it busted up the wall, and we just ended up putting OSB back on there. It's 2 years ago, and just painted it. Now, I'll be the first one to admit that OSB is not the best choice for siding your box blind. It's not going to last as long as just about everything else. Steel, LP Smart siding, vinyl, whatever. But we were in a pinch to fix several stands that had blown over. So OSB is what went on. It was quick and easy. I know we're going to probably have to redo this again in a few years because it is facing south, gets a lot of exposure. Woodpeckers are already after it. It's chipping off. Anyway, we'll move on from that. OSB not being your best choice. I ended up building basically the deck with the joist, but not the floor. I laid it on the ground. I marked out my poles, dug the holes, set the poles in the ground in the holes, and ended up raising, basically the floor carriage up and screwing it on. I had to do it in increments. I did it all myself. The only thing I didn't do was raise up, I think, 2 of these walls by myself. I had someone hand it to me while I pulled it up. So it can be done in just panels. A tractor or skid steer was not used to elevate this blind. And so when I got to the roof, it ended up being it's wrapped with 2x4 around the perimeter, and the 2x4s are each snug to the outside wall. I end up screwing it in there on the outside wall. I've got 2 coming down the middle for support all the way through, and we ended up putting, I think those are 8-foot pieces of steel on the top, and so I ended up cutting, I think, that plywood about 6 inches short of 8 feet. But we got a pretty good overhang on the back side. This blind was assembled in my shop. The wall panels were put together. The roof framing was built. The floor framing was built. The plywood flooring was not on the floor, and like I said before, I raised up that structure. And same kind of thing was with the roof structure. It's made out of 2x4s, and it's 8'3". That 2x4 on the end here, 8'3", and this one here is about 7.5 feet. But I ended up just putting that 2x4 framing up there and then putting the 2 sheets of OSB on, screwing that down on top of it after I got the frame up there. My tin, which is 8 feet, has an inch hanging over in the front, and then another 5 inches or so hanging over in the back. Haven't had any trouble with snow bending that yet. It's been here for 5 years. We ended up putting a camo net around the base there, just so when we're climbing up in and out of it, you can't be seen as much. It's overlooking, we've got a food plot here, and there's prairie grass behind that. So that's kind of the reason for the netting going around the base there. And the windows, these 2 windows pop out and up. The rest of the windows, the other 3 windows on it, are sliders. And to access this blind, we've got a ladder. The steps are 12 inches from the top of each step going up the ladder. It's 33 inches wide. The trap door is 33 by 33, and I would highly recommend going at least that wide for climbing in and out of your stand if you're going to do a trap door, so that you can get up there and take your gun over your shoulder, or you can go have a backpack on. I think 3 feet by 3 feet is even more of an ideal trap door size. So there's what the trap door looks like opened up. Again, it's 33 by 33. Got that metal handle. I found that in the garage door section at the hardware store. And then I had this is a brass handle from something else. Might be a shower stall anti-slip handle there or something. I don't remember where that came from, but anyway, it sets down like that. We basically just cut the carpet out around it. The back side, I didn't cut it at all. And there are actually hinges underneath here. Those are just regular interior door brass hinges, I think, under there. We got the Mr. Heater Buddy Heater behind us here. The hose running straight down. I don't know if you saw before, but there's a 20-pound LP tank on the ground down below, so you can turn that on and off when you come in and out. It's a little bit of folded up landscape fabric here, so when the trapdoor swings open, it doesn't clunk on the wall. I hate that when you have that banging around in there. These are just white vinyl sliders. This one was painted black because it's behind us. This is a 24 high by 30 wide. It's a standard size from the home center. These are 24 high, 36 wide. Also vinyl sliders. We didn't bother painting those on the side. We just don't have, that's really not our silhouette so much from the side as it is from the back. It's kind of why I had this painted black on the one side too. Just ran out of paint. That's why I didn't get done on the other half. But you can see these windows too. You can actually flip them over. So both of these slide from front to back. Even though I bought one of them, they both come the same way. But you can basically just, I think it was just snap out this track, pull the window out, flip it upside down, and you can basically slide it the opposite way as that it's built, and it works pretty much the same. The only difference is this tab ends up flipping, down to unlock it versus up like the other side. So it's kind of nice. We know we're probably going to be shooting at a forward angle out of here, so that's why I ended up doing that. The other windows, these are they're Anderson windows. We had a friend who works there, and every now and again they get some reject windows. So these were pretty cheap. I don't remember what we paid for them. $50 for the pair or something like that. I don't really remember, but so they actually tip out. And what I end up doing is making a little bracket, a little angle iron bracket with a gusset sticking out here. And then I took a fence post rod and basically just welded a bolt on the end of it. So you can push it outward. I have to unlatch it first. So you can just push it out like that with one hand. And then I drilled a little hole in there that you can pop that in. And it holds that window open. This is northern exposure here, so it gets pretty cold. You don't really want these windows open most of the time when we're hunting in here for gun season, unless it's time to take a shot. These windows are also 24 high, 36 wide. We got two of them. One of the things I didn't mention before is when you're coming up through the trapdoor, I ended up screwing this piece of 5/8 maple plywood on here, so you got a really good solid handle for hanging on to. Highly recommend that, having some kind of a handle with a trapdoor. It's pretty easy to wipe out, especially when you're climbing down in the dark. Another thing I recommend, we didn't do it here, but I did it on another one that I had done before, is paint at least the top of at least the first step white. So in the dark, when you're climbing down, you make that first step, you're hitting your mark. So when I built this at home in my shed, I pre-assembled all of the 4 wall panels. And what I ended up doing is having a 2x4, maybe it's easier to see where it's not painted, on edge like that. And that was only attached to one wall, so that when we put the walls together, I was able to screw, the end wall into that piece. So the front and back had the 2x4 attached. The side walls did not. And these are just 2x2 framing on the side walls here. And even the supports, in between on the long walls, the front and back wall, those are 2x2s too, but where I went above and below the window here, I actually framed those in with just 2x4s. But it is nice underneath. I mean, you gain an extra, 1 3/4 inches that your feet aren't hitting when you go with 2x2 versus 2x4 like that. Now that we're inside, you can see a little bit better. This is looking up at the roof structure here. These two 2x4s are 3.5 inches apart in the middle. And again, I wanted to get a 4-foot wide piece of OSB, you know, by 7 feet there. And then another one here. Well, in order to get that to hang out the 1.5 on the outside, along with, you know, the 2x4, that's kind of that's my fly rafter out there, I guess. I had to leave this 3.5-inch gap in the middle, and that's fine. There's, you know, there's a little bit of, that's where there's metal, but I don't have acorns falling on this. And I guess the event that we're sitting in here and we get rain, it's not going to be that terrible because it's just that strip. It's not been a problem so far anyway. These two center ones, the OSB or the siding or sheeting is cut around these, and these go out, you know, and they connect to my fascia board out there. The other two that are kind of in the middle here, centered on, you know, 2 feet or whatever, these are just cut off and they butt up and they're screwed into, you know, this 2x2 stud. Same goes for the other side. And then looking around in the front, it's the same thing. These were just cut off flush on the inside, the middle ones. My outside one, of course, is screwed in here and it's fastened to the outside. And these two center ones, same thing, just got a little block in there. Ran a screw through that block right into this 2x2 stud here. The sheeting is cut around these two pieces right here. I did make a very basic curtain for this back window to block out our silhouette. It's just like a 1x1 or whatever, you know, cut to a little over 3 feet long. I just stapled a piece of landscape fabric on there, put a little hook like that on each side, and it just sets right in those hooks. So if there's no food source behind us or nothing in the field when we're hunting in here, we know there's probably not going to be any deer coming out back there. We're just sitting facing forward, have that black curtain as a silhouette behind us. If you've watched other videos on my channel, you know that I can be thrifty at times. These patio chairs, they're just swivel rocking patio chairs sitting alongside the road with a free sign on them. And I took them. And they're actually really comfortable hunting blind chairs. And they turn pretty quiet. They had, you know, they were kind of weathered, so I just wrapped a few pieces of duct tape around them so they don't continue to tear. Had some old cushion from a wheelchair or something, I don't even know. But they're actually pretty comfortable. You can sit in those things for hours and turn and lean back. They're pretty nice chairs, especially when they're free. The height of these windows from floor to this shooting rail is just a 2x4 wrapped in that landscape fabric too, by the way, that you can, makes a nice lean. So I'm sitting on this patio chair, 33 inches to the base of this window right here. My brother personally thinks it's a little low. I don't. If it was another 3 inches higher, it would start blocking my view already. So I'm looking, okay, this is right at eye level for me. So maybe that answers a question that I see a lot. If you've got a box blind and you're 8 feet off the ground and you're hunting on level ground, to me, 33 inches isn't bad. 34 would be okay. 36 is going to be cutting it close if you've got deer that might come right in front of you. But that's me, 6'3", eye level, 33 inches, and I've got a pretty good view. The window doesn't necessarily need to be that tall. I mean, we could probably get by with a 12-inch window versus 24, but it's what they were. I've seen a lot of the guys too, you just spray paint flat black on the top 6 inches of your window in a strip like that. You don't have to worry about the extra light coming in that you might not need. A couple final things worth mentioning here. The high side inside here, 87 inches there. The back side from floor to roof sheeting, 81 inches. So I got 6 inches of slope. Why I picked 81 and 87, I'm not sure, but I guess I decided I wanted 6 inches of slope in there, and that's why it was done that way. My brother, yeah, he likes to have that shooting rest, and we screwed that piece of OSB on there, so you got somewhere to put your elbow on there. Nice shooting rest for those longer range shots. Here, all the way to our north fence line, it's like 300 yards. I don't know if we take a shot that far, or even be able to see a deer that far, but that helps. One last thing that I will point out is if you look close, you will see screws everywhere. Everything is screwed down. I cannot emphasize enough on the importance of screws versus nails. If you want to eliminate squeaks and keep that thing together better, especially if it's moving around the wind a little bit, screws are the way to go. If you're going to spend money on anything, spend it on the screws first for your deer box blind. So that concludes the tour of this hunting box blind. If you haven't checked out my other videos, I've got more on my channel. One is about dealing with fogging windows. Another one is how to make your own windows out of plexiglass or Lexan. I've got a tour of an octagon box blind out there, a tour of another two-person, is it 6x8 hunting box blind. I'll put links to those videos in the description below, so if you want to check those out. Plus, it'll play a couple of videos that you could click into after, at the end of this video, which will be real soon. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.